Hey everyone, welcome to Best Life by You, the podcast dedicated to helping you overcome challenges in nutrition, mindset, fitness, and relationships while prioritizing holistic health and wellness. I'm your host, Julia, and today we have a very special guest and a dear friend of mine, Sawyer Hofmann. Sawyer and
Hey.
I, yes, I know. I'm so excited. So Sawyer and I have been friends for years, connected by our love of plants and veganism. Sawyer is currently a fitness coach at Vegan Proteins and a former California attorney. So Sawyer, the lawyer, just blends
Yeah.
really well. So everyone, please welcome Sawyer. Sawyer, I would love for you to just share a bit about your story, your experience, what you currently do. I know as a fitness coach, we had worked as coaches together for a vegan company. How you landed where you are today. Feel free to dive into veganism, but just
Yeah.
share your story and
Sure.
what brought you to where you are today.
Yeah, I'll give the short version, and then you can dig into
Okay,
whatever you feel is
sounds great.
interesting about it, because I never
Sounds
know what
great.
people want to hear about. But basically, I grew up very athletic, but very insecure, especially once puberty hit, and I was like smaller side. Um, and also just yeah, just a little bit quieter. Not super quiet. I've always been kind of goofy once you get me open, but it's
Yeah.
it's like definitely the insecurities made that worse. So I had like this body image issue stuff and whatever. And then I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my career. And it was always like my parents being like, hey, you could do what your dad does, which is being a lawyer, and you'd be really good at it. And I was like, well, I haven't made up my mind yet. Like I
So I'll
haven't
do
figured
that.
it out. And so I just was like, I'll just do that. I'll just do that because I'll probably be good at it and whatever. Um, did that, like went to law school in San Diego, passed the bar, started working as a lawyer, hated it, just hated it. And so, but all the while, I've always been really passionate about fitness. Like I remember I was like 5 years old, bench pressing broomsticks, you know what I mean? Like that kind of shit. So,
Do you have
so,
a
so
picture of
it
that?
was like a constant theme in my life was like fitness and like really loving that and just liking the lifestyle. And so, I started dating my fiance in college, and she had been saying like probably since day one. I don't remember when she started saying this, but she was like, "You should work in fitness. You should do something like that." And I was like, "No, no, there's no money in that." Like my parents have been saying. Then I went and did lawyering, and I was like, "Okay, I'd rather be poor. Like this is crazy. I don't like this." So it was like it was a big like I had to try it, and then realized that I needed to be in fitness because that was the only thing I ever really loved in terms of like a marketable skill. And so yeah, so I just went through the process of like, at first I worked in an in-person personal training gym,
Hmm.
in Time Fitness. Then I worked at the place that we worked together.
Yeah.
Then I worked on my own for a while as personal trainer or coach, fitness coach online on my own. And now I work with vegan proteins. And it's just been really cool. Each time I've switched things, I've learned something new, and it just has landed me here. And I really like where I'm at right now. So
That's
yeah.
amazing. It's well, I just don't understand why there's so much pressure for us to figure out at like 18 years old what we want to do with the rest of
I
our life.
know.
I'm like, that's so
Yeah, but they're
crazy.
like, oh, but here's like 100K in student loans you can have though.
That, literally, that's like, I mean, I did education, I did my master's program, and I went for my master's because I was just like, yeah, I don't really know what to do next. So I'm just gonna go here because I think this would help me and I think this will be good for where I'm going.
Yeah.
And after that point, I was like, but the same thing, I've always been passionate about fitness, movement, helping people, making people laugh, feel good, and nutrition just fell hand in hand. And honestly, I'm more passionate about nutrition than I am even of training.
Really?
And that's a lot to
Comfortable with
say.
me, kid. You look great. You train hard.
That's but that's the thing. Like I love training, but I love nutrition even more. Nutrition's like an obsession that I have.
Really?
Training's a love.
Yeah.
Nutrition's an obsession. Like I have to know the why. Like why are flax seeds good for us? Why is
Yeah.
this like I'm just obsessed with it. So,
That's cool.
I mean, connecting back to what we, are what we have in common. So I've been vegan since January 2020. So I'm
Okay.
curious to hear more about what drew you to veganism. How long have you been vegan? Like, talk to me about that journey because I think that's so, it's so special. And especially you are jacked. Like, you're so fit.
Nah,
You're
bro.
so
Thank you,
fit.
though.
But seriously, And I think
It's
for
all smoke and mirrors.
well, the thing is
Yeah.
for a lot of people listening to this,
Mhm.
um, they get worried about men and like soy and all these things.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm gonna get boobs. And I'm like, no, you're not. No, you're not. Because
Yeah.
I'm still waiting. Um,
Yeah.
talk to me about
No.
veganism. Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
God.
no, that's a great question. I mean, it's true that there's lots of fears out there. I think like that's what prevents people from really looking at the facts of like what they're contributing to or what the systems that they're part of are.
Yeah.
And I think I was no exception. Like before I thought you could be vegan, I was like, oh yeah, I would probably pay more attention to that stuff if I wasn't so into being fit and healthy because as everybody knows, you can't be vegan and fit. You know what I mean? So I just didn't even take the
Yeah.
vegan argument seriously until I saw vegan bodybuilders online. And
Yeah.
I was like, wait a second. Like, is this for real? Like these guys aren't just like juicing and doing stuff. And of course some of them are. But
Yeah.
that's
A
not
lot though,
exclusive.
vegan and not vegan doing it.
Yeah, that's not exclusive to the vegan world. And I'd already had the experience of like, oh, okay, learning like people will say one thing and do another. But
Hmm.
you meet or you see enough people doing it and that seem genuine and you're open-minded enough to it and you think, I started thinking, well, maybe I'll try it. But it was really the ethical argument that got me. And this is in my first year of law school. This was in March 2016. So um, over a little over 9 years now.
Hmm.
Um,
Coming
so
up to your 10-year. Yeah.
yeah, so I'm gonna be 10-year vegan soon, which is exciting. Um, but yeah, I just remember seeing like videos of chickens hugging people and cows playing fetch and pigs getting belly rubs and all this stuff, and I was just like, wait a second, like that can't be real. Because there's always this narrative too of like, well, farmed animals are more like machines or like they don't have really emotions and feelings
Yeah.
and stuff. And that's what I always had always thought too, right? And then I was like, oh wait, they're actually like individuals with thoughts and feelings and shit.
Mm.
So as embarrassing as that is to admit, I had never, raised in a city environment, so never really met any of these animals. And then I saw them acting like that, and I was like, okay, let me look at this vegan thing a little bit closer. That's when the vegan bodybuilders came into the picture and I was scared as shit. Like I was super scared that I was going to lose all my muscle to this
Yeah.
point. Like again, I was still in the throes of like body dysmorphia. In fact, this is probably one of the worst times in my life about body dysmorphia was at the beginning of law school. Had
Yeah.
just gone through a breakup, all this stuff. So not in a great place mentally, but I was also like still taking this seriously. And maybe it actually helped open me up to something new because I think if I had been like, oh no, I have everything figured out and like life is so good, I may not have taken those arguments seriously.
Hmm.
I don't know. Or felt the pain is real. Like one thing, this is totally off topic. I
No,
guess
continue.
it's a little aside, is
It's
that
okay.
like we can only really relate to others' experiences through the lens of like our own experiences,
Yeah.
right? So if I'm
Yep.
suffering in that moment and thinking, wow, this is like nothing probably compared to what a pig like with his hoof on a hook and like getting hung upside down and throats like you know what I mean? Like you don't have any
Yeah.
reference to like how miserable that must actually be. Um,
Yeah.
I'm gonna try not to get too emotional, but the point is it opened me up to a new way of living and I'm very grateful for that and I also understand that it's very hard for a lot of people to get there, so I think there was like a
Yeah.
perfect storm of things that kind of came together and I was able to like really look at what I was a part of and who I wanted to be in that moment that felt like a crossroads in my life. And I'm really glad that I took that chance. I was like, I'm gonna do veganism for a week, and if I start feeling like any type of way, I'm gonna go back.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to lose my muscle. I don't want to feel like crap. I don't want to die young, whatever. And all the scary things. Like I was
Relatable though. People think those things. Yeah,
yeah, it was
100%.
scary. It was scary. And I thought, oh, I'm gonna have to eat like so much more protein. I'm gonna have to make sure I'm hitting every single amino acid and I'm gonna start
Yeah.
journaling. Like I was going all in. But as more time went on, I was like, oh, it's not that serious. Like
Yeah.
you just eat protein and lift weights and you're fine. And it doesn't have to be from animal sources. And so yeah, it was just like, yeah, 9 years later, here I am, built more muscle. Um, feel better about myself, body dysmorphia wise, which we can get into if you want to, but
Yeah, I'm
that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, well, I'll add to your point, like even for me being me going vegan for a while, it was just like, oh, what's healthier? Like from my whole experience, it was always
Yeah.
it started off with the health stance
I remember you
because
saying that.
that was
Yeah.
something I didn't know. I'm like, okay, what's the healthiest way of eating? Because I
Hmm.
cut out red meat like 10 years ago and I was
Hmm.
like, okay, well, I feel better with that, but I wanted to feel so good and I wanted to look my best. Like that
Hmm.
was something that drove me, to stay with plant-based and really hone in on those macros because yeah, it doesn't matter what you're eating, calories in, calories out. You can cut or build muscle. Like
Hmm.
that's laws of
I know.
thermodynamics.
Well, no, in
So,
terms of like aging and stuff too, I've had people say like, "Oh, you don't look like you've aged that much," and I think part of
yeah.
that is the fitness side, but I think a lot of it's the diet. And like you
Yes.
look like
Yes.
you're probably gonna look like 22 forever. I
Yeah.
think like that's
Well,
pretty
I
cool.
I get asked. It's so funny. I mean, this is a whole side tangent, but
Yeah.
um I had been like this guy was talking to me. I was at a grocery store, whatever, and it was a
Huh.
cashier and he was asking me questions. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm in my last school at NYU. What year are you in?" And I was like, "Well, I taught college and I attended college like 10 years ago." And he's like, "No way, you look like you're 20." And I was like, "I'll take it. I'll be 30 in a few weeks. I will take it." But I do think I
I believe it.
rarely drink. I could count on how many times I drink alcohol.
Mm,
Rarely. And I focus on sleep. I focus on the basics. I focus on, I mean, I would say my weakness or something that I'm struggling with is the
mm,
overworking, right? Like being
mm.
young, be overworking, like the typical New Yorker career, hustle, all
It's
that.
hard
And
not to in this economy, in this environment. Like we're kind of incentivized in a lot of ways to do
yeah,
that.
well that's
Yeah.
that's the thing. It's
Yeah.
being a single person in New York trying to make it
I
and
support
get to a
it.
certain level. But me
Mhm.
even being plant-based, it was so people would tell me all around. They're like, "Oh, it's just a phase." And when I broke my leg in or I broke my foot in 2020, the amount
Whoa.
of people that were like sending me articles, they're like, "Oh, it's because you're plant-based. You got weak muscles. You're this." I'm not kidding. And I'm like,
Oh.
"Bro, this is not real." Like
Oh.
I was just too passionate about it. And for me, what drove me was reading research because I did research in graduate school. I was like, I want to
Mhm.
just know
Mhm.
everything I possibly can. And I was constantly in defense mode. Now I'm not as much like in
Yeah.
defense mode because people are just curious to hear. They're not attacking me. And I feel
Mhm.
like that's also what drives me to have the physique I have. So people are like, what do you do? And I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
plant-based. And people are like, what? You're
Yeah.
plant-based? No
It
way.
doesn't hurt to look
Like,
like you look for sure.
it's
And I was gonna say, do you find that like, well, I just found like it seems like to me with social media and like the longer we've had it, the more confused people have become about all this
Oh
stuff.
yeah,
I
about
think that
nutrition.
we
Yep,
get more information, but I think it's just overload at this point. And like
I
they're
do
getting,
too.
what's his face? Sean Baker and like what's the other guy's name? Those
Paul
carnivore MDs.
Paul
Yeah, Paul
Paul
Saladino.
Saladino, yeah, something like
Yeah,
that.
those guys who are just like, yeah, well, like you would have to eat so many lentils or whatever, and it's just like, dude, that's not how this works. Like, you're straw manning the hell out of everything you post. Like,
Yeah,
no vegans are arguing this stuff, and then also like a lot of the stuff is just like mechanistic BS that they want to like
yeah.
spin people around
Yeah.
with.
But it's even in the plant-based community. I've seen
True.
people like I think even with my book, like Dr. Greg, I went to a whole like seminar about like and many people are talking about the doctors like acidic versus alkalizing foods and whatnot. And like for me, I try to tell people instead of being plant-based, I'm like, oh, let's have more alkalizing food for our body. What is that? Whole foods. Whole foods are alkalizing.
Oh,
And
so it's
like
a bit of a Trojan horse for you. You're like, hey, here's another way of
Yep.
thinking about it. Because you know
Yes.
how polarizing like plant-based and like vegan stuff can
Yeah.
be. That makes
It's
sense.
yeah, and it's very so one of those things I try to go from the approach, and even I remember Dr. Greger, he has in his book, he was talking about it too, of like what's
Mhm.
alkalizing, and it's like whole foods. You want more whole foods because you want more alkalizing food in your body. Like acidity, you're gonna see it, and you're gonna have a balance of like 80/20. That's what I talk about in my even in my book, like the 80/20 rule. But I'm gonna just tell you, like the more and more even people in the plant-based community arguing over like seed oil's good, seed oil's bad. It's like back and forth. And I'm like, can we all just go back to basics that you need your fruits, veggies, berries, whole grains, nuts, and seeds? I'm like, can we just all agree on
Well,
that at least and
that's
then build from there?
yeah. That's why I like what you're saying. I like outcome data. I like when
Yeah.
people focus on like, okay, what are the things that people are actually doing that are actually, and we're accounting for confounding variables, but then what are the outcomes of that? When we have
Mm-hmm.
cohorts that are big enough to really show like the Adventist health study where they show like, okay, these people pescatarian, these people vegan, these people
Yeah,
Standard American, what are the outcomes when we're looking at specific, things? So
of
I don't know. I
course.
think those are kind of tend to be the most helpful in terms of like broad overarching themes of
Yeah.
dietary things. But then like parsing through the data and trying to figure out like, well, how much red meat would be put you over for I mean, that's more for the nerds of the community more
Yeah. And it's
than
also like that's my even just I'm sure for you it's like I want to teach people how to be like healthy in the plant-based world. That's me
Mhm.
too of like how you can actually do it and like you don't want to go crazy. And I work with a lot of people who are not plant-based and I just teach them about fiber and it's
Mhm.
incredible to see people go from 5 grams to 10 grams to 15 grams
Mhm.
to 25. I usually get like 70 grams of fiber a day. I'm
Yeah.
averaging,
Mhm.
probably you as well. But
Yeah.
a
I think
lot of
it's
people struggle just to get 20 grams of fiber. And I'm like, well, if we look at it and so that's kind of been my language too of like, how do we
Mhm.
switch this to focus more on fiber? Because
Mhm.
then of the fiber sources
Mhm.
are whole food plant-based sources. So you can
Mhm.
increase your fiber by getting more of that. And then the rest unfolds. Like, I'm like,
Mhm.
why don't we have 2 to 3 meals of beans this week instead of doing chicken meals? Like, because there's no fiber in chicken, but there's
Mhm.
protein, there's carbs, and there's fiber in beans. So we can go down this whole rabbit hole, but you're right. It's nutrition has been sometimes I have to shut off social media because I start to get very anxious. I'm like, oh my gosh, did I say the wrong thing? Am I promoting the wrong thing? Like, am I right? Am I wrong? Like, there are so many
Well, that's
what's
the
it
thing.
called?
Like people that are on the like tribalism bandwagon don't
Yeah.
ask themselves those questions, and so they come across as more confident and more knowledgeable. But if you're not asking yourself if you're wrong, then you're probably
Yeah.
wrong in several ways, and you're just not willing to address it. So it's annoying. It's annoying that that's what works in the algorithm is the people that are more convinced that they're right and
Hmm.
just bold about it and like more ridiculous about their entertaining antics.
Yeah.
um, the more eyes they get on them. And so it's kind of like we're on the back end being like, oh, don't worry about this, don't worry about that. That's a bunch of bull crap, all this stuff. Like just focus on these things.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess we could be thanking them in one way because it's like it makes us more necessary than ever to filter
Hmm.
the BS that they see online and
Yep.
just focus on what works.
Yeah.
But it's also disappointing when people have to unlearn a bunch of stuff before they learn stuff
Yep.
and
Yeah.
you feel like you have to wade through a bunch of their questions and objections before you get to the stuff that's really going to help them. But
Yeah.
I digress.
It's yeah, no, it's not. I think it's all relative of what we're speaking about. It's just one of those things people will always have something to argue about. Always. It does not matter from the beginning of history to the end of time. People are always going to find something to argue about. And
Yeah.
it just so happens that, the plant-based bit and, I love your name on Instagram, Soy Boys, because it's
Oh
like
yeah,
so many people are like
taking
soy.
it back.
I've had to tell people, I'm like, soy is a phytoestrogen. It's has similar components to human
Mhm.
estrogen, but it's not the same thing. Like it's
Uh-huh.
very, very different. But
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole different route. But you were starting to talk about body dysmorphia, and I mean, if you're
Yeah.
comfortable talking about like what is that? Because a lot of people will say or hear it, and I had a few clients, like I've had to explain to clients what body recomposition is, what body
Mhm.
dysmorphia is, and it's like, what I guess, how would you define that? What does that
Well,
look like? How did you get
yeah.
through that hump?
I'm not a clinician or anything, so I'm
Yeah.
probably going to give a really bad explanation.
No,
But
but just for your
basically, it's
point
like
of view.
from what I experienced, I
Yeah.
don't know if it was I was never clinically diagnosed with body dysmorphia, but from what I know about it, it sounds like that. Basically, it's like an inability to recognize reality, I guess, in the sense that like, you have these unattainable aspirations probably set to you by social media and people in the fitness sphere, that you're constantly comparing yourself to, and so you're constantly moving the goalposts for
Yeah.
yourself. And I think it gets so out of control in some cases, like for me, where you kind of just can't appreciate anything you've accomplished. You feel bad about yourself pretty frequently. You don't want to take
Yeah.
pictures. I guess those are kind of the symptoms of just feeling inadequate physically all the time.
Mhm.
Despite, being more fit than most of the population, you're still like holding yourself to this standard that's really not fair, in most cases. So, yeah, I mean, that's probably how I would just explain what it felt like, when I was
Mhm.
going through that period of time where I was just having all these body image issues, and it really colored my view of the world a certain way. And it's not until looking back afterwards and still recognizing some elements of that in me, like, can flare up.
Mhm.
It's kind of like being an addict. Like you're still tempted to dive into that and be like,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe I should just go all into it. But you've kind of learned enough to now where you're like, okay, no, that's not a healthy route to go. So I guess that's how it feels and how it currently feels. And
Mhm.
um, I'm really glad that I'm where I'm at now. I just think that certain people have certain predispositions to not just like physiological, diseases like, hypercholesterolemia and things like that,
Mhm.
but also like mental things. And I don't know if that was genetic because my parents, I don't think either of them suffered with it, but I think just personality types
Mhm.
can gravitate
Yeah.
towards certain pathologies that you're like, okay, this isn't fun, and you have to learn about yourself.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's I mean, just talk about personality. Like I mean family dynamics. I would say my dad and my brother and sister more is similar to my dad. I definitely have a lot of my dad aspects, but my mom in regard to like this overworking, working all the
Mm,
time, this like
mhm,
I get that from her. Like I don't know how to rest. And that
mm,
is my downfall. Like I know that that's something I
mhm.
struggle with and I come
It's
up
good
with
you
things.
recognize it though. I mean, being able
Oh,
to call it out
it's
and
true.
say,
I laughed on my last podcast. I showed this too. I have a self-care list that I have to check off every week to
oh,
relax,
man.
to rest.
Oh man.
The
You probably
sun
go
out
to like
the
you're
room.
the person on vacation who shows up and you're like, all right, guys, what are we doing? Who's doing what?
Well, I'm
Going.
going to Colorado. I'm not planning anything. All I did was buy the tickets, and
Really?
I'm like, okay,
Wow.
Stacy, Robert, you guys are, or Stacy more so. Stacy's I'm staying with, but I'm like, that's
Yeah.
what happened last time too. If
Yeah.
there's somebody who's leading, then I draw back.
Like,
But
she's
if
so good though. She's so
yeah,
active. Like
yeah,
she
so we'll
because
do that.
like you already told me last time you went like snowshoeing
11 miles,
and
so
did all
not
the
again.
like
Not happening
yeah.
again.
But it's like you got what you asked for, which was like I didn't have to plan it and I'm doing a lot to the point where I'm so
Yeah,
tired. I feel like
yeah.
you might be one of those people who just like needs to get really tired before you can really relax, huh?
Honestly, it's bad, but like I it's toxic. But for me, I have the excuse of like, well, when I'm in a relationship, then I'll go ahead and dedicate date nights. But I've been doing it, but now I'm like I've actively been adding in date nights with myself, like
I love that. I was just
Saturday
gonna say,
nights. I
yeah.
do it for myself. Like so I'm
That's
at, because I
cool.
work at Lifetime. So I do a sauna. I
Mhm,
do, no, I do a workout. I do yoga. I do,
mhm,
like it's a good stretching class. Then
mhm,
I do, sauna, steam room, and shower there, get myself ready. And then I go grocery shopping, come home and rest. And like, that's my Saturday evening. And
mhm,
so, that is like 4 hours of just me time not working. It's
mhm.
so, I mean, I'm still
Funny,
working
it still requires you working out and
Yeah.
like kicking your own butt.
Yeah.
But I love it. I love that you're like, no, dedicated time to not work. If that's a
Yeah.
significant achievement for you, then I'm happy for you. Great
Yeah.
job.
I don't, because I don't, that's it. Like, I laugh. I'm like, I really don't know how to rest. I get excited over doing things. I enjoy working. I'm probably one of the few women who actually enjoy working. But I'm like,
Yeah,
I just enjoy the achievement, but sometimes I'm like, no, I do need a rest. But
yeah.
yeah, there's a lot. But speaking of like, of us setting like healthy times to rest and things of that nature,
Mhm.
I would love to know how you define healthy. What does healthy
No.
look like to you?
Yeah, it's a big question. I
I know
think
it is.
I think it's different for everybody because like obviously we all know what the generic answer is. It's
Yeah.
like able-bodied and
Yeah.
for whatever your ability level is and like also not neurotic and tortured in your brain. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
that those things are obvious, but I think healthy has to look different for everybody because everybody has different aspirations and also tendencies like and responsibilities. So I think
Mm,
like somebody like you really, I guess what it kind of comes down to is like knowing yourself and like
yeah.
what you tend to lean towards, right? Like I always think about it as like every strength has an associated weakness. There's another side of the coin every time. So like you're very
Yeah.
hardworking. You could like work and do so much. You can be so productive. But the other side of that coin is like sometimes you get really burned out
Yeah.
because you don't think to make time. And I can do,
Rest. Yeah.
where I'm hard on myself or I don't think, okay, I need to like, I don't know, be kind to myself in this way.
Hmm.
I can get a lot done. Like I built a physique and whatever,
Yeah.
learned a lot about fitness, but sometimes I can feel like I never accomplished anything, you know what I mean? So I think it comes down to a lot of like knowing yourself and then like constantly taking inventory of am I emphasizing my strength and taking care of my weaknesses somehow? And sometimes
Hmm.
friends are the way to take care of your weaknesses or services sometimes. I think I don't know. There's a whole lot of things we could get into, like
Oh yeah.
specific to actually do that. But I think really at a high level, like 30,000 foot view is just like knowing yourself and your tendencies and your responsibilities and your preferences, and then trying to channel those all into a organized kind of like system in which you feel like you have enough freedom to enjoy your life, but you're also taking care of your shell of,
Hmm.
or meat bag that you can call a body. And then and then I don't know why I just want to be goofy like that. But
Okay, I love it.
but you know what I mean? Like you have so much to manage. Like your brain
Hmm.
is the epicenter of it all. And if you don't organize it or take inventory regularly, you can
Hmm.
end up just getting really overcrowded and really overworked or really complacent
Yep.
and then just completely neglecting the things that you're not normally inclined to focus on. Like for you, it's rest, and for me, it's
Hmm.
like I don't know, self-care. I don't know other ways, but
Yeah,
yeah.
but I mean, no, there's so many different versions of what healthy looks like. It all goes down to your values as well. And I know you've been in a long-term relationship, so we can bounce to this too because
Mhm.
I love covering relationships and talking about it. And
Yeah,
so everybody listening, Sawyer was with me when I went through a very hard breakup. It
I remember.
was. Yeah, it was really challenging. It wasn't toxic. It was just like one of those things that had to happen. Um,
Mhm.
amicable, I guess you could say. And Sawyer's just so good with advice. Like I talked to him throughout it, even when going through struggles. It was he was there through that. So even for you, like looking at a relationship, how do you balance a healthy relationship? Like what does that look like
Mhm.
to somebody that really wants to have a healthy relationship? You've been in a long-term one.
Mhm.
So what does that look like for you? Like if you
Yeah.
don't mind sharing about that.
Yeah, I'm open book. First of all, thanks for the compliment.
Oh, of course.
I mean, I really love getting to know people through like struggle. I think it's good to be not just a fair weather friend and like,
Hmm.
it's funny because I feel like we talk the most when we're going through some shit,
It's crazy. I know. I'll send you
But I'm
voice
not mad
messages
about
and
it.
stuff.
I'm not mad about it at all. I love being there for each other. But I guess with long-term relationships, I guess I really just got lucky. I learned so much in this relationship. I mean, I've been with Mia now 12 years and some
Yeah,
change. And so that breakup that I was talking about during law school, we had broken up for like 6 weeks and it was like torture. And
I
then we
remember you said. Yeah.
yeah. So, but it was a really good point in our relationship where I started to take it more seriously. And so that's what I mean by like I learned so much, and I think it, relationships are so tough because it's like your own terms, right? Like it's a contract between you and
Hmm.
another person or several people. where you guys are kind of agreeing to like this is what I want. Like at the end of the day, it's a kind of a mutual statement of like I want this and I
Hmm.
will compromise, I'll figure things out to get to where I want to be. But it's hard because yeah, sometimes people find out or they enter into that contract and they realize, oh, you know what? We didn't actually do our research on each other enough. Like we didn't want the same things,
Yeah.
you know. So that's where the amicable breakups can happen because you're like, well, I really love you as a person, but we just want fundamentally different things for our
Yeah.
lives. And that's probably the hardest breakup to have, in my opinion, because it's like it's
Yeah.
so sad when you have good chemistry with somebody and really like being
Yep.
around them and it's too
Yeah.
late to just be friends anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, but and then there's obviously the more toxic connections and that are based on like lust and more ephemeral things. But
Mhm.
I think at the end of the day, it's similar to how you take care of yourself. It's like you have this thing outside of you now, a relationship where you're like, okay, this is one more consideration in my life that needs to everything that I do from now on, everything that kind of like having a kid or something, like is now gonna be a part of the
Yeah.
conversation. You know what I mean? Like it needs to be consideration when I do things now. So, when I first started dating Mia and I was just like I'll call it my fuckboy phase, whatever. I
It's okay,
I
call it that.
it was like yeah, it was like I don't even ask if I can cuss, but hopefully
I
you'll
don't
leave.
care. You can
Yeah,
curse.
okay.
It's I'm
Okay.
I'm open.
Okay, good. But so yeah, so I was just like it was just like a lust thing. We actually were supposed to just hook up for a summer. That was like the whole plan. Like
Yeah.
we had
And
gone to high school together.
not be engaged now.
No, and then now that we're engaged, it's crazy. But that was the whole original idea was like we were just gonna hook up for a summer and that was gonna be it. And she was
Yeah.
like pretty confident she could do that because she's more like used to having crushes or flings than I was. I was more
Yeah.
like a serial monogamist. Even though I was acting more like a fling
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, whatever. All that aside, it was very interesting to see how it developed and I get really like emotional really fast, really connected really fast. And so even though I was like treating it nonchalantly, I still care a lot about
Yeah.
that thing.
Emotions, yeah.
Yeah, and so it was just one of those things that like as we went and as we kept learning and growing together and like finding out more about each other, I just came to respect her so much and admire her so much as a person
Hmm.
and like our friendship I would say grew as well as our relationship because it was like I
Yeah.
really just respect and value this person and I think she gives great advice and it was never like oh that's just my girl like she's just gonna be naggy or whatever. It just felt like more and more like no she makes a lot of sense and she says a lot of things that end up being true and I like hanging out with her, not just because we hook up and whatever, but because she's actually fun and funny and like we have a lot of similar values and interests and stuff. Um, so yeah, I guess all of that's a long-winded way of saying like I think you have to let it grow naturally. I think you have to again consider that this is if you really want something that lasts a long time, it's like having a kid or like having like not that serious probably because you can leave it at any time, but and not go to jail. But it's not that serious, but it is something you need to consider throughout your daily life now going
Yeah.
forward. Like, okay, now I'm choosing to be in this situation in which I can do things that could really hurt somebody
Yeah.
at a different
Yep.
level, just a friend, you know what I mean? So it's like it's a more serious thing, but it's also more rewarding in a lot of ways when you've met the right type of person who's willing to grow with you and teach you things and they learn from you and
Yeah.
yada yada. So
And is like what are your non-negotiables? Like is she vegan? Is she
yeah.
so what are your non-negotiables in the relationship? Like
Oof,
did you want somebody who was vegan? Like
that's a
and
good question.
and just for
Well,
everybody listening, like non-negotiables are things that you are not willing to compromise. Like those things. So for me, I need somebody like I'm a woman of faith. I also am
uh,
somebody who cares about nutrition and health. I need
uh,
somebody else that cares about nutrition and health. And
yeah, yeah,
that's,
yeah.
like those things. So I don't know if you want to dive in a little more to
Yeah,
that, but
sure.
and was she vegan? Were you vegan first? Like how did that turn out?
Yeah. Good question. So neither of us were vegan when we first started dating. We are 20, right?
Yeah.
College, didn't really know anything.
Yeah,
Um,
chicken fingers and fries. Yeah.
yeah, right, exactly. And then, but I was always into fitness, so that was that. And then, and she really wasn't that much. And then I went vegan at 23, and eventually she went vegan too. So it was like a year later or something, she went vegan.
Did you press her anything on it or no?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I was kind of, I
That's
probably
how
shouldn't
I
have.
feel like I would be. I'd be like,
I
okay,
was
clear me on
pushy.
vegan.
I was pushy. I was looking at her cross-eyed when she was having like the ice cream bars and stuff. I was like, and this is before you had that many options too. So
Yeah.
she's like, what else? I want a sweet treat or whatever. And I was like,
Yeah.
no, you don't know what's going on. Anyway, so yeah, I kind of was pushy about it, but luckily she eventually was like, yeah, no, that makes sense. And then is very vegan for her own reasons
Yeah.
now. We both kind of grew in that way. And but yeah, if I were to date again, that's a non-negotiable. I've already decided. Like I
Yeah.
could not be with somebody who is eating animals in front of me. That would be so
Yeah.
hard. I'm not good at like part of the
Hiding your
like whole
emotions or
strengths
stuff.
weaknesses thing. Like I'm
Yeah.
very good at like being passionate and like really vulnerable and honest and all this stuff. But the other
Yeah.
side of that coin is I have no poker face. If I don't like what you're doing, it is very hard for me to be like, this is cool. And I do it for like short periods of time because I'm not just gonna
Yeah.
freak out in any public setting. But if I'm with somebody a lot,
Yeah.
you're gonna know everything about me. Like you're gonna know how I
Yeah.
feel about everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's how I feel. But but in terms of health and fitness, though, not really. I don't really have any non-negotiables. I mean, like obviously, I have to be physically attracted to you to be with you, but
Yeah.
Mia has worked out more since we've met, started
You've
dating and everything.
inspired her, I'm sure.
Yeah, but she's
Okay.
really not a fitness lover. Like she's not
That's
like a
okay though. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm okay with it
Yeah.
because I still think she's hot. But
Yeah.
but it was
Shout
like
out to Mia.
yeah, for real. She knows. Um but yeah, I don't think like somebody being like in the habit of going to the gym with me all the time or like eating, on like high protein, low calorie, whatever,
Yeah.
high fiber. I don't care that much about that.
Yeah.
Like I just have found like I thought I did, when I was like, yeah, it'd be cool to
Yeah.
be working out together and all that stuff. But the more that Mia didn't do that, I was like, I actually don't care. Um, so
It's
that's
okay.
cool. That's cool to find that out. But yeah,
Yeah.
I don't, I'm trying to think. Like I think really at the end of the day, it's for me, it's a big thing about um like moral integrity, like
Mhm.
values matter a lot to me,
Yeah.
and following through with that with just, with your actions too. So, choosing to be healthy or not, that's up to you. Like or
Yeah.
how healthy along the spectrum, rather, I should say. But in terms of being a good person and trying to do your best by other people and animals and things, that matters a lot to me.
Hmm. Yeah.
And she definitely is a good person
Yeah.
and inspires me to be a
You
better
can
one.
tell. You can tell when somebody
Yeah.
like I think it's funny because I say I like to be the person that pushes the grocery cart all the way back to the stand. I want to
Yeah.
be the person that always holds the door open.
Yeah, yeah.
And there are so many times people I'll walk into Lifetime, no, I'll be right behind a man and he will not hold the door open. And I'm like,
Really?
I make a face. I'm like, the people
Yeah.
in front see me, I'm like, I make a face. I'm like, okay. Like, even if somebody's behind me, I'm still gonna hold the door open.
Yeah.
I just like there are certain
Not
things
even from
that
like
are
a
just
man-woman thing, but like a just a decent human
decent
being,
human being.
right? Like, come on.
I don't
Like,
know. It's one of those things that I have found more and more I'm able to pick up. I mean, you can tell within a few seconds of talking to somebody, like
yeah.
whether you're vibing with them and whatnot, but just learning about seeing those behaviors and those habits, like for me, I'm
Yeah.
like I always laugh. I'm like, no, I want a man that pushes a grocery cart back without me
Yeah.
asking, like all the way
That's a
back to the
good
start.
person. Yeah, no, that is like
So
a
yeah.
non-negotiable of like I want somebody who cares about other people and how they affect them, and is
Yeah.
considerate because there are a
Yeah.
lot of people in the world, men and women, who are just like, they're so lost in their own mind. And I think this goes back to being healthy of like
Yeah.
you're so lost in your own stress, you haven't regulated things, you haven't looked at them enough. And granted, there's stressful times for everybody, and I'm not saying everybody who's ever unthoughtful is
Hmm.
rude. But I'm saying if you make it a habit of being like always late for stuff or always like you're not making time to be thoughtful of
Yeah.
how you affect the world.
Yep.
And I think that's a problem for me too. Like if you're such in a rush that you don't ever really think about how you affect people, it's kind of an issue.
That's yeah.
But it's crazy to me that there would be a man in front of you and look behind or kind of notice there's a pretty girl behind.
The
Dude, you
amount of times it happens, Sawyer. Like
had a
I
connection.
so so many times. So
That's
and they'll be
crazy.
grown ass men. Sorry. They're like
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, it happened this morning. And I was like, I stood there and I was like, the guy at the front saw me and I like made a face. I'm like, really? We couldn't hold the door open. So
Yeah.
it's I mean, I get it. Sometimes people don't see or they're in a rush or things like that. But I'm like, it's you can always gesture, say, I'm so sorry, I'm rushing. I'm so sorry I'm doing this, like things like that. But I'm with you on the values of like being kind and positive and loving and like intentional. Those things are
Yeah.
so important. So
You know what I just thought
yeah.
though when I was saying that, and I'm sorry to cut you off,
No, it's
is that
okay.
like when I was a lawyer and when I was doing stuff that wasn't in alignment with who I am or who I wanted to be, and I didn't realize it at first, I was more inattentive. I was more distracted because I didn't want to be where I was.
Yeah.
So I was like constantly like watching YouTube on my phone or whatever. And I think it made me a worse person just to everybody around me because I was dealing with stuff that I had put myself in a situation
Yeah.
where I felt like trapped. I felt like unhappy a lot of the time. So what do you think came out of me when I was
Yeah.
around other people? So I think, to add another layer to that is like I think when people don't listen to their heart, for lack of a better word, then you can end up kind of just resenting life in general or other people or the situation you're in.
Yep.
And because it's the same thing of like haters being like jealous of other people. Like you could do that just in your own little bubble, like being
Yeah.
like I don't like my life. And so as nice as you want to be or as nice as you see yourself or you grew up as,
Yeah.
you can start exuding like all kinds of unhealthy stuff because you're just not living in alignment with who you want to be and what you want to be
Mm.
doing, you
It's
know?
yeah, no, you're
So,
it's so true because when I started to do my business full time and coach, I started, I go through moments and whatnot. We all have days, right?
mhm,
And
mhm.
it's one of those things where I'm in positions where I have to be happy and positive and upbeat no matter what's going on that day. Like it does not matter if
Yeah.
the sky is falling, I still need to be positive and upbeat and be like, yeah,
I think
everybody,
that's
let's
a part
go.
of what makes you a great leader, honestly.
It's
Um,
yeah,
it's
but there's
hard.
it's hard.
Yeah, I actually that's one of my things is like I can look at things and be vulnerable and be real and
Yeah.
and all that stuff, but the downside of that is that I have a hard time with hope. I have a really hard time looking at the reality of things and taking that in and being like, what the hell do I do about this? Like this is
Hmm.
so heavy. And then I just carry that with me. You know what I mean?
Hard.
So
Yeah.
having people like you in my life who are positive and like, yeah, well, we're gonna do something about it. I'm like, oh my God, I'm never letting you go. Because like I need those kind of people, you know what I mean? Also, side note, I love when your East Coast accent comes out.
Oh,
Like you only vary is certain times. Like I think it's when you
coffee.
get
You want
excited.
to get
But you said
coffee?
like all something,
All
and
this.
I was like, what? Oh yeah. I always forget you're from the East Coast until you do that.
Yeah, pure New Yorker. Pure New Yorker here.
Yeah.
So, no, but this has been, I mean, it's been wonderful like to talk with you. And I know we'll have more catch-ups and
Yeah.
even more discussions, but just to wrap up just hearing about advice and talking through with this. So, I have two questions. One
Yeah.
is what is the greatest advice you've received or have to offer somebody?
Oh my
Or
gosh.
one of them. It doesn't have to be the greatest. It could be
Yeah,
one
I
of
was gonna say, I think it depends on the season of life you're talking about because
them.
it's like there have been certain times in my life where people have said some really profound stuff. Um, Most recently, I think it was really helpful to me when somebody, just the one that came to mind, when
Yeah.
somebody, I was feeling like kind of trepidation or I was feeling kind of like,
Hmm.
or no, maybe this is a better word. So I was feeling like, okay, I need to like I'm doing a cut right now. I've
Hmm.
started a cut and I'm like, I want to see if I could do what I did like I think it was like 7 years ago and
Hmm.
get to a certain level of leanness and feel relatively sane and stuff.
Yeah.
And I had just been treating it kind of like casually until this point, and I was running into these like hard stops of like you're getting
Mhm.
really hungry and you're starting to waver a little bit. And
Yeah,
then my boss, Danny, was like, I think you're just not giving yourself enough credit for how lean you actually are and take
true.
this a little bit more seriously than you have. So I think while I tend to tell people, hey, like chill out, you're buzzing up here a little bit, you
Yeah,
need to bring it down. I think sometimes people need to hear the opposite. It's like, hey, you're
yeah.
capable of this. You can just rev it up and like you can do this. And it's very hard to know when that time to apply which advice is. So I would recommend to people just people that you know and trust, people who know what they're talking about and people who
Mhm.
know you, like those people need to be a part of anytime you struggle with stuff, like you need to invite them into the conversation
Yeah,
because it's too easy to just get lost in your own head about
yeah,
how you're feeling, what you're doing, and not even think to ask the people that would honestly love to help you.
yeah.
Um, you know what I mean? Like, I know I could have come to you with that question. You probably would have answered a similar way. But it's like when you're going through it, you just think, oh, this is just something I have to deal with. So I guess the advice is like reach out to people who you trust and who
Mhm.
know. Because even if they give you advice that doesn't really resonate, or you try it for a minute and you're like, yeah, that wasn't it actually. Um, you probably know more than one person that you trust and who knows stuff.
Yeah. A
And so
support system.
yeah, even if it's not like, related to what you're talking about. Like, so say I was talking about fitness, like she didn't really tell me anything I didn't know about fitness. She was just like, "Oh, I think this is what you're experiencing in your head about like how seriously to take this." And probably my mom or you could have told me about that even if you don't know exactly the process. Like I know
Yeah.
you know the process, but even my mom doesn't know the process, but she's like, hey, well, maybe it sounds to me like you're taking this a little too nonchalantly or whatever. Other people can pick up on stuff that
Yeah.
you're saying. So I think if you just kind of keep putting feelers out to the people you trust, like your
Mhm.
people, you can get some really good advice like during
Yeah.
difficult life,
And spending time with people that like fill up your cup and not drain you. And that's something I've been
Mhm.
really like tuning into the past couple of years is like who
Hard.
fills
That's
me
so
up,
rough.
who
Yeah.
who drains me, like what is draining me, and certain activities I'll say no to.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I'd rather be at home right now by myself than perhaps go to this thing, just because of your energy. Like it's all
Yeah.
about what you're intaking, what you're expending, and that's it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been an
I
assessment.
love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's cool because you probably had this time in your life where you would just say yes to everything, knowing you, being
Yeah.
like
I
kind of
mean, I
having
still have that issue, but
yeah, you have FOMO maybe, and you also want to
I
take
don't know if
advantage
it's
of every
FOMO. It's I look
yeah.
at it as networking opportunities. I'm like,
Oh, I
okay, what if I
see.
meet somebody? That's my
Yeah.
whole thing. Well, what if I meet somebody at this
Yeah,
event
yeah,
and then
yeah.
I get a potential client or things like that?
Yeah.
Like that is where my brain goes
Yeah,
instead of
yeah.
like it's always like potential client or network, potential client network. It's
Yeah.
like my
I think
brain
that's a
just goes
good way
crazy.
to lean if you're going to be a business owner in New
Yeah.
York. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's a good tendency to
Yeah.
have. But I think, yeah, also thinking of the times where you're like, well, that wasn't really worth it. Oh, and that happened again. Like, what are the common denominators here? I
Yeah.
think that's good to do
Yeah.
periodically. Yeah, that makes
So,
sense.
and then one more question and then that's pretty much our wrap up. So,
Okay.
I mean, you gave kind of a piece of advice, but more so what is one piece of advice you'd give to somebody who is struggling with any aspect of their health or trying to prioritize their health? Like, what
Mhm.
is that piece of advice that you would say to maybe start with?
Yeah, I'll give a different piece of advice
Yeah.
because I think that other one could apply there too.
Yeah.
But I would say probably find like a mentor, like an actual mentor, because when you work one-on-one with somebody who's been
Yeah.
successful in an area
Hmm.
before, it really helps clear the all the fluff, the clutter,
Hmm.
you know what I mean, in your head because you're just like, okay,
100%.
this is someone I'm responsible to. It's like having a teacher in school. Like you're just
Yeah.
given more directives that you're directly responsible for. There's more accountability.
Yep.
Um, there's less like nebulousness of whether you did a good job or not. Like you'll know because you'll have somebody who's set things up for you in a way where you're
Yeah.
like kind of going up. Because I think that yeah, there's just too much. like usually if people are at a point in their lives, usually as an adult especially, you're at a point in your life where you haven't figured out the whole health and fitness thing yet.
Mm,
There are so many things working against you at that point, like work and probably kids and
yeah.
whatever else, throw whatever else in there, relationship stuff. That having someone whose sole job it is, or even if you're not paying them, there's just a friend in your
Yeah.
life.
True.
That's the goal, and you're like, hey, can you do this for me? Like having somebody that's their dedicated thing for you, I think is a really good idea because then you've just kind of taken that out of, they don't see all the other stuff on a
Hmm.
day-to-day basis. They're just like, are you doing the things that we need to do? And at
Yeah.
some level, that's a really good thing. Of course, you want somebody with empathy, but you also want somebody who's going to kind of push the needle
Hmm.
forward because
True.
if it's really hard for you to do that right now, there's probably a reason for that. And so you might need to lean on other people a little bit.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I mean, everything we spoke about today is just so relevant to, I feel like it's relevant to anybody listening, like everything we've kind of discussed. And I just appreciate having this time and having this conversation with you, hearing about values, talking about veganism, talking about relationships, all the fun stuff. I know we
Mhm.
could probably talk for hours about this.
Yeah.
We will. We'll have a catch up time.
I know, dude, and I'm so disappointed that I haven't reached out more, and I didn't even give you my new
Okay.
cell phone number because
That's
I'm a
okay. I
today.
have it now. I have it
You
now.
have it now,
Whoever got my
but
last text, they're gonna just enjoy the text from
I'm
me.
sure that person, whoever got my old number, is just having a blast right now with
It ain't
all
even
the
there.
texts that I didn't
So
bother to
funny.
send people that I changed my number.
It's all right.
Um,
But
but it's
yeah.
been really fun too, and thanks for having me. And I'm
Yeah.
definitely gonna keep talking because it's just like every time I talk to you, I'm like, dang, why don't I talk to Julia more? And it's just, but
You're so
but
sweet.
when you're busy and you're living on the other side of
Yes.
the country,
It's hard. It's hard. I mean, even my friends that live 10 minutes away, we don't
really?
always talk and see each other
Oh my
as often. Yeah, it'll be months and we'll be like, "Hey, you want to get together again?"
gosh.
In 5 Tuesdays, let's get lunch. But
Well,
anyway, I
well,
appreciate you so much.
yeah,
And
likewise.
thank you everybody for listening. And I'm gonna place Sawyer's information below. So if you want to reach out to him, you're more than welcome to. So I'll provide all his socials information. And I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day. I hope you all enjoyed today's episode. If you would like to continue to get these episodes first thing, then go ahead and subscribe to my channel on YouTube and on Spotify under Best Life by You. If you're interested in working together, y'all can go ahead and visit bestlifebyyou.com/work with me, or go ahead and follow me on Instagram at NutriFitJulia. Send me a DM or just follow for more information, fun tips, and just a lot of humor. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Let's continue to live the best life by you.